Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us as we unveil the 28th Annual Business Outlook Survey. As you all know, annually, New Jersey Business and Industry Association conducts a survey of our members. We ask them to predict how the year ahead is going to look, and at the same time, we ask them how the year in place has fared for them. So today we'll take a look forward, but we'll also talk a little bit about what our members told us how 2016 played out based upon their predictions last year. Now, if we step back for a moment, if you think back a year ago, just about this time, and many of you were here, and we did the outlook at the end of 2015 looking into 2016. And at that time, people were optimistic. In fact, they were cautiously optimistic, but they were more optimistic because they were coming off of 3 solid years of slow and steady growth coming into 2016. And so their predictions represented that. You know, they felt good coming into 2016. Enter 2016, what a dynamic year it was for the business community. If we stop and think about 2016, how did the year begin for us? We entered 2016 with the business community facing many challenges and not knowing where those challenges would end up. Think about the mandates that were facing business coming into 2016. A mandate potentially for paid sick leave, a mandate for $15 minimum wage, and the potential for a constitutional amendment to fund the pension as a super priority over all the other needs in the state of New Jersey. That's what we walked into in the very beginning of the year. What else was going on at that time? We were facing a broken, if not almost bankrupt, transportation trust fund. So those first 6 months of the year, there was a lot of uncertainty in New Jersey. It didn't end in the first 6 months, however. That uncertainty continued through the summer, past the usual budget season, and we went through the summer still having many of these issues unresolved for the business community. Now, our survey was out in the field in September and October. Again, during that time, these issues were still very dynamic and facing our members. We did not have the comprehensive tax reform package yet when the survey was out in the field, so keep that in mind as we look at the results. And we think that considering how dynamic the time was, when you hear the results for 2016 versus predictions, you'll understand why as well. So why don't we dig a little bit deeper? First of all, executive summary. What did we see overall this year when we did our survey? Good news, great news. Hiring, sales, and profits are predicted to continue to rise. And we're coming off now another year of good growth, okay? Slow and steady growth, but solid in 2016. That's now 4 years of solid, slow, and steady growth with a prediction in a 5th year going forward that will continue to rise as well. However, members are still concerned about the state's economic future. Now we know we have made progress in comprehensive tax reform, but once again, the biggest concerns facing our members, as is usual, number 1, health care, followed by property tax, cost of doing business. This year, for the first time, we asked questions about the potential for a $15 minimum wage, and this is the 2nd year that we asked questions about the impact of estate and inheritance tax, as well as whether or not businesses were contemplating staying in New Jersey when they consider their retirement. Good news is New Jersey outpaces other states in the quality of our workforce and quality of schools, as well as environmental regulation. These are things we are always strong in. However, out-migration still remains a concern for our members, and you'll see that play out in these results as well. Going a little deeper now, let's look in the areas of employment, sales, and profits. Now, I said each is predicted to rise in the next year. A net positive in each area continuing to go up. Let's look at employment first. Employment, 29% said they would increase employment, 9% said they would decrease. That's a net positive for 20%, which is reflected on the chart. And you can see that that is strong compared to last year. In employment, let's talk about wages for a minute, because everybody always wants to know, well, we're hiring, but how about those who are already employed? What can they expect in terms of their salaries for next year? 69% said that they will give wage increases in 2017. 61% said that will range between 1 and 4.9%, and actually 8% said that they may even contemplate raises higher than that. That's really good news for New Jersey wage earners. This year, 67% gave wage earners. That's in 2016. 67% gave wage increases, higher than the 65% that was predicted. So one area that actually slightly ahead of prediction was increases in wages from year to year, and that's great news when it comes to hiring. How about sales and profits? Sales, the net positive of 38% over last year, which is very good, 38 to 34% last year. So we see there's a continuing increase in rise in sales that is predicted. Profits are anticipated to continue to rise as well. And what drives sales and profits? We have to think about how pricing, price power, and purchasing is. And in 2017, our members tell us that they will increase the dollar value of their purchases, which again is a positive signal for the economy. Now, we need to take a pause for a moment because I said we'd talk about what the results in 2016 in these areas were as well. And as you can see on this chart, there were very high predictions last year coming into 2016. However, the actual results did lag the predictions. Now, not by significant numbers, but they did lag. And again, we do think that this is a result of the lack of predictability that businesses had during 2016, and we think that might have caused them to put a freeze on their spending, put a freeze on their wallets, which oftentimes happens when we don't have predictability. However, 2016 did provide solid growth, albeit again, slow and steady. Let's take a look at the overall economic climate. As we said, this year we asked our members, once again, what's concerning them and what's having an impact on the climate. As we know, New Jersey has a continuing concern when it comes to the high cost of living, the lack of affordability, and driving taxpayers out of the state, what we call out-migration. Out-migration is still an issue. And we'll just give you some examples of where out-migration continues to be a problem for us. We got some new numbers this year. As you all know, you're all familiar with our out-migration report. We got new numbers that are now for 14 and 15, updating all of those out-migration numbers. And unfortunately, when you add in 14 and 15, we're now over $20 billion net adjusted gross income out-migration of the state of New Jersey, which equates to $13 billion in economic output, about 87,000 jobs, and $4.6 billion in total lost labor income. Okay, so that's continuing there to be a concern. We are very, very hopeful that comprehensive tax reform in the bills that we just saw signed by the governor are going to have an impact, and we're going to see that trend turn around. We'll talk a little bit more about that. You can see on this chart here, though, remember when we were out in the field, okay, we did not have this reform yet. Do estate and inheritance taxes take effect when you're considering your business's future? Still this year, 55% said yes. Are you going to expand in New Jersey? Are you going to expand at all? I think the thing that troubles me so much is 53% aren't planning expansion. So they're going to increase jobs. They're going to take on jobs, but they're not necessarily talking about expanding their facilities. Okay, we'd like to see more expansion for sure. But what does concern us still, not expanding in New Jersey. So those that are contemplating expanding, perhaps at 34% saying, we're going to expand, but no, we're not doing it in the state of New Jersey. Okay, and 13% say they will be expanding. Continuing to keep your domicile in New Jersey as you contemplate retirement, still very high, 68%. This is consistent with last year's numbers. So again, this chart, this is only the second year we're tracking this, but we are confident here at NJBIA that the comprehensive tax reform bill that was just signed into law is going to have an impact, and we're hoping to see these numbers start changing next year. As we know, those reforms are going to be a phase-in, so it'll take a little bit of time to catch up. But we know our anecdotal information so far, our businesses are telling us that that tax reform is game changer for the state of New Jersey. This year, for the first time, we asked about minimum wage because that is an issue hot and heavy being discussed, and it's an issue that resonates with many of our members. 70% said they feel that it would impact their business, forcing them to cut costs or raise prices. And then we asked them, well, what would you do in response to that? And as you can see, 34% said they may reduce their staff, 28% said reduce hours, and 34% said raise prices. And then, of course, we see automation. And we hear every day now from policymakers, everybody's automating anyway. Just I said a few minutes ago, right, we're in the innovation zone. Here, we're all about automation and innovation in the state of New Jersey. You know what, though? We don't want to rush that. All right, we don't want to rush the need for automation. We would still like to have good customer service. We'd like to see people at the counters of our retail restaurants and our stores. All right, we don't want everything to be a pin pad. And our members tell us that we can see more automation if we are going to rush to $15 minimum wage. Competitiveness, so keeping New Jersey competitive overall. We ask every year, how do we compare to the other states? How's New Jersey doing? How are we faring in the nation? Well, where we don't fare well is in the areas of taxes and fees, controlling government spending, attracting new business, and controlling healthcare costs. And that's reflected in these numbers here. But the positive, where we fare well, as always, quality of our workforce, the quality of our public schools, and environmental protection. And these are very important things. Now, again, I always pause when we talk about workforce and quality of our public schools because we make a major investment in the state of New Jersey in our K-12 education, an average $19,000 per pupil per year times 13 years. And we are willing to pay a premium to stay at the top nationally on this type of statistic. However, we all know we're at a tipping point and that super premium now is getting too expensive for us. Now, if we were investing in K-12 and we were keeping those students here in New Jersey as our future workforce, we'd say, return on our investment, good for us. However, you all know we've said this before, number one out-migration group from the state of New Jersey is millennials, 18 to 34. And within that group, graduating high school seniors, 65% last year left the state of New Jersey to pursue their higher education somewhere else. Now, that's not the return on investment that we deserve in the state for what we pay for that wonderful K-12 education that keeps us atop nationally. This is a serious issue for us in New Jersey, and this is something NJBIA is going to be digging into in this next year. Our next big issue coming up, affordability for millennials. Comprehensive tax reform did a lot for our seniors and those contemplating retirement. Now we've got to shift around. We've got to say, what are we doing to keep millennials, our future workforce, that quality workforce that we invest in K-12, what are we going to do in the state? What policy do we need to keep them here? That's the next big agenda, and we need to get working on that. The overall outlook when it comes to New Jersey's economy. So the good news is that businesses feel really good about what they can control. They tell us that my industry is going to do well. I'm going to do well. I'm going to raise price. I'm going to raise wages, and I'm going to get new jobs. Okay. However, when they look at New Jersey's economy on the whole, they're not so bullish. They're not so bullish because we have these continuing challenges in the state of New Jersey. Healthcare costs, property taxes, cost of doing business. Number 1, 2, and 3, every single time we poll, these come in at the top. Healthcare costs, 81% expect healthcare benefits to rise yet again this year. I think many of you were here when we released our health survey just a few months ago, our benefits survey. And what we learned in that survey is that New Jersey companies continue to provide those benefits because they know they must do it in order to be competitive and to attract the earners, the workers, that skilled workforce that they want. So they're always going to be competitive in their benefits. However, it's getting more and more difficult for them. They're continuing to take a hit to their bottom line, which they will do. But what they're doing now is they're pushing more of that cost off on their employees. That whole paradigm is not sustainable, and we know we need to do something different in healthcare. The good news is healthcare and the whole agenda for healthcare is a hot issue in New Jersey right now. And we're all engaged in it. We need to continue to be engaged in it, and hopefully we'll see some change coming on that front in the future. And then property taxes, 69% expect their property taxes to rise in 2017. Okay? Continuing concerns that cause New Jersey businesses not to be so bullish on the overall economy in the state of New Jersey. Industries, what industries are going to be hot in 2017? Manufacturing, financial, insurance and real estate, communications and utilities, non-housing construction, all predicted to go up. On top of this, I think when we look at these types of industries that are hot for 2017, we can see that that 23-cent investment to our transportation trust fund is going to stimulate economic activity. That $2 billion a year spend is going to translate into economic activity for the state of New Jersey, and these are the types of industries that benefit from that type of stimulus. So we're looking forward to that. How about the industries that are not going to be so hot in 2017? The traditional retail, because we know internet is a challenge for traditional retail. Trade and healthcare are predicted to dip a bit, as is traditional transportation. Okay? So in conclusion, you all know I like to start positive and end positive. On the whole, we're really excited to announce New Jersey businesses are optimistic about 2017. They're more optimistic than they've been in many years. They're feeling good about their prospects for 2017. They're looking forward to creating new jobs. They're looking forward to seeing increases in profits and sales. And that bodes very well for the state of New Jersey. They are concerned about the economy on the whole. I think some predictability in policy could help them to feel better in that regard and maybe spend even a little more. We are outperforming in some categories when it comes to workforce development and the quality of our K-12 education. However, we are not outperforming in many areas that are important to New Jersey's economy. Good news and the best news at the end of the day is we have started comprehensive tax reform in the state of New Jersey. Unprecedented. Unprecedented. Okay? The comprehensive tax reform bill, bipartisan bill that passed the legislature and was signed by the governor, is a huge step and sends a very clear message to all the residents of the state of New Jersey that in a bipartisan manner we can sit down and we can talk about comprehensive policy and we could start moving toward a more affordable New Jersey. For us, the goal is to keep that comprehensive tax reform discussion going and start now talking about what are the next big things. As we said, affordability for millennials, the next group that we need to pay attention to in the state of New Jersey. So with that, I'll take questions.